We can go up and down on the problems for the New York Jets in the last couple of weeks. And a lot of people want to point fingers at Zach Wilson. Now, do I think he's a piece of the problem? Yes, I do. Do I think he's ready to play in the NFL? I don't. We've seen enough of Zach Wilson to know that he can't make every single throw. He's had problems or the yips and throwing short passes to their running backs. His pitch throws, if he gets into trouble, he holds the ball too long. Some people say he holds the ball 3.5 seconds to 4 seconds, and that's a huge problem in the NFL because you should only hold the ball for 2 to 2.5 seconds. Do I think the Jets have given Zach Wilson the best opportunity to succeed on this team? And the answer is no. I think having a guy like Mike LaFleur just been absolutely horrific. He has been one of the worst we've seen for the New York Jets in the last 15 years. He's been horrible. And there's no excuse. And everybody's going to say, well, he's the best that we've seen in a very long time. Define the best. Define where they're ranked offensively. Ever since Breece Hall has been hurt, he depended on Breece Hall to do absolutely everything. And it took a lot of pressure off of Zach Wilson, which they could hide the deficiencies of Zach Wilson. We can argue that Zach Wilson will never step on an NFL field again, or he could step on an NFL field on another team. But what we have seen is a kid who doesn't deserve all the abuse from the press, from the fans. Did he make a mistake when he lost against New England in New England? Absolutely did. Did he embarrass himself? Yes. Did he lose the locker room? Yes. And now you see the difference of what a locker room does from one quarterback to the other. Mike White is beloved by the Jets clubhouse. And Zach Wilson, besides DJ Reed and maybe Conklin that actually liked the kid, it looks like Garrett Wilson, Elijah Moore, Michael Carter, Corey Davis. Half of that offense, including the offensive line, don't want to play for him. Does that hurt his chances of making this roster next year? It absolutely does. And I believe what you see now with Mike White is every single Jet fan thinks that he is the future. Everybody thinks that he's just going to have these wings and he's going to fly the Jets into victory. This is the same guy that is only 2-6 starting for the New York Jets. He has had 10 red zone chances and only scored on 2 of them. So for all the Jet fans are going to think, Mike White's the future. We need to give him an extension. We need to give him a long-term deal. That is not going to happen. There is no way a player who was waived 5 times by this organization is going to get a $70-80 million contract from Joe Douglas. And I think Joe Douglas knows Mike White is not the future to this organization. It was Zach Wilson. It's no longer Zach Wilson. Now you're hearing trade rumors, and if the Jets can get something back for him that is significant, he'll probably be gone. I understand that Zach Wilson's mom is mad. She should not be speaking to the press. She should not be going on social media and embarrassing her son because it makes her son look like a peewee. He's not beloved here. Nobody wants him here. It's unfortunate. Do I think this kid has a chance to be a good quarterback in the NFL? He's got all the skills. He's got all the ability to be a good quarterback in the NFL. But he needs to go to a team that's going to sit him on the bench and let him learn the game. Start over. The Jets can't do it anymore. The press will eat that up alive. The fans will eat Joe Douglas and Robert Saleh up alive. It's not going to happen. This is a guy that was drafted at number 2, right behind Trevor Lawrence. That draft class for quarterbacks, where everybody thought was going to be an exciting draft class for quarterbacks, has been horrible. Even Trevor Lawrence, who everybody thought was the messiah of quarterbacks, the next big thing, the next big Andrew Luck or Peyton Manning, Aaron Rodgers, he has not been that guy. Has he done well? Has he been a good quarterback the last few games? Yes, absolutely has. He still has a long way to go to be a decent quarterback in this league. Will he? He has the best chance. But I can't understand why Jet fans think that Mike White is the messiah. It's a joke. And for what any anonymous executive says, the Jets, they'll be lucky to get this and that for him. Joe Douglas got a 2, a 4, and a 6 for Sam Darnold to go to Carolina, which helped them get Jermaine Johnson, Michael Clemens, 2 players that are going to play a big part of this team moving forward in the next 6 to 7 years. So for people to think that Joe Douglas can't pull off a trade like that for Zach Wilson, boy, oh boy, you guys have not been watching.
In a league with a lot of offensive coaches and a lot of creative offensive coordinators, I think the 2 things they want out of a quarterback is accuracy and leadership, coachability as well. Because we see a lot of coaches transform their schemes to fit the quarterbacks. We saw the Ravens do that when they drafted Lamar Jackson, and Lamar Jackson won an MVP in his second year in the league. Zach Wilson does have arm talent. He does have good downfield ability. throwing on the run. Still, we've seen a lot of arm talents flame out in today's league because they just try to force it.
Jamarcus Russell.
They don't do the little things well. Yes, I agree with you on Mike LaFleur. Mike LaFleur has been bad as a play caller this year, especially since Breece Hall has gone down. His running games, besides the Bills game, have been non-existent. Zach Wilson, when he has started, has not looked good. A lot of that is on him too, missing all of those short throws, fine. But I think the coachability and the accuracy are the two reasons why that this report came out of him potentially not being traded for what they were hoping for. Now, I'm not going to overreact and say they're only going to get a day 3 draft pick at this point. I still think the market is probably a third. You do need that combination of a coach that's going to want to work with him, a franchise that's going to give him a chance.
I think they get more than a third.
Maybe like a third and a fifth.
I think they'll get a second. This is a guy that you have control of. Carolina only had an opportunity to control Sam Darnold for a year and then the extension for that 5th-year option. Carolina loses Sam Darnold this year if he becomes available. What did they get for Sam Darnold? 2 or 3 wins? And I still think Sam Darnold was the guy. I do believe that the Jets made a mistake on letting the kid go. I've been a pure believer in the kid. I think that with this roster and all the talent he would have on this roster with Garrett Wilson and Elijah Moore, and if Breece Hall was not hurt, the weapons that the Jets have were so much better now than they were when he was playing for the Jets. So do I think he would have succeeded better on this Jet team? Absolutely. But they decided that they wanted their own quarterback, and they thought that Zach Wilson would fit this offense better than Sam, and they were wrong. Joe Douglas was wrong. Robert Saleh was wrong, and we all know Mike LaFleur was absolutely wrong because the guy's an idiot.
As far as Mike White, short term, I think it's a good decision to start him these last 2 games.
100%.
At least try it out.
But if they win, that doesn't mean he's the future.
Long term, I think you definitely have to look at these other options. The Raiders now benching Derek Carr. Maybe that leads us to believe that they will trade him or they'll let him go. Jimmy Garoppolo is another one that was linked. 49ers ties. He knows Mike LaFleur's system. If you're trying to save the system, because odds are he probably will be there as much as he should get fired.
At least one more year.
Yeah, so why not have a quarterback that fits the system and try to make these other weapons work? And this is a Jets team that just needs a little bit of leadership. Jimmy Garoppolo has always been a good leader wherever he's gone. Teammates have always loved him. And then we've heard other bigger rumors too, guys like Aaron Rodgers. But I think those are much more realistic options than Mike White being a starter and getting paid like a starter by Joe Douglas, who's very smart with his contract. Yeah, his free agents haven't been overperforming when they've come in, but nothing you could really say is like a god-awful contract like the Giants have with Kenny Golladay.
As far as the Jets this week, there's a lot of playoff implications.
Yeah.
The most important implication here is the Patriots have to lose one of the next 2 games. They have to at least lose against Miami. They're not playing Tua this week because of concussion protocol. So it looks like it's going to be Teddy Bridgewater. Could they win with Teddy Bridgewater? Absolutely could. They have the weapons, and Teddy has won. He won in Minnesota. Decent backup quarterback for the Jets, and everywhere he's journeyed to. I think Teddy could absolutely pull off a win for Miami, but if somehow the Patriots win that game, still going to have to play a very strong Josh Allen and a roster in the final week of the season because they're going to play all their starters because they're going to try to win that number 1 spot, which would give them the bye for the first week of the playoffs. I believe Buffalo, no matter what, will start all their players on week 18. The chances of the Patriots pulling off 2 wins like that are slim, and they got to go to Buffalo. It's going to be cold, and we all know what happened last year in the playoffs. Mac Jones in the really cold in Buffalo. The Jets have the ability to pull this off. They got to beat their old quarterback, Geno Smith, in Seattle. It is going to be rainy. It's going to be cold on Sunday. It's going to be very loud with the 12th man screaming and screeching, and Mike White has never been in a situation like that before in his career. This is a guy that's been a starter in 6 games. And the Jets, they're a young team. Some of these guys have never been in a situation like that. Playing in Seattle, it is one of the loudest, if not the loudest stadium in the NFL. And the fans are crazy over there. I expect this to be a slugfest, and it's not going to be an easy game for the Jets. Could the Jets come out as the winner? Absolutely could. They can run the ball. They could do all the things that you expect them to do against a defense that's not very good. Seattle's defense is ranked amongst the league's worst. They have a really good corner that they drafted in Woolen, who made the Pro Bowl this year. He's going to be a special player, especially where they found him. 5th round. Has he been better than Sauce Gardner? No. And Sauce Gardner has been everything that they believed he was going to be. A shutdown corner and one of the elite players in this year's draft class. And they've had a lot of fantastic young players. Quentin Williams is the best interior lineman in all of the NFL. Robert Saleh, when he decided to move forward in taking this job was because of Quinn Williams and how special he could be. And finally, Ulbrich figured out if I played him for more than 50 or 60% of the snaps, we could have an elite defense up front. And boy, oh boy, when Quinn Williams is in the lineup, you see how special he really is. So he's going to make a lot of money this offseason. It's going to be very interesting. If the Jets win out and the Patriots lose one game, no matter what Miami does, the Jets make the playoffs. You want Miami to beat the Patriots this week so the Jets don't have to worry about winning out. They do exactly what they're supposed to do against Seattle, and they do exactly what they're supposed to do in Miami. And then the Patriots win both those games, and then they go into the playoffs. And nobody's going to be happy about that, especially when the Patriots have been the worst out of all three of those teams.
Yeah. The Jets would really earn it if they do win both of those games, because that is quite a trip to going from Seattle to Miami back-to-back weeks.
If there's anybody that can do it, it's the Jets. They've been one of the more talented away teams in the NFL, and their defense has played elite in away games. That Jaguars game cannot happen again. They cannot go into a game like that and look as bad as they did. If they think they have any chance of winning these back-to-back games, they need to play hard. They need to play tough. And maybe Mike White will give them a little bit of a spark, but he's not the future.